Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Red Pill Nation 393. I am your host and reasonably sane individual, Naroki5. The aliens got Rearson taken away, so V has bravely taken the step to take their place, where the aliens will eventually get him too. They'll be dressed in black suits and they'll be from the government, but yeah, they'll eventually get him too. So V, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not queer, but I'm here to steer. The rear, that is.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're keeping those one standard, no standard rules, even though Rearson is gone.
Where's Rearson at? Where's he at? Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
The
aliens got him.
He's at the latex euphorium.
All they found when they got back to his apartment was a torn up plastic vinyl suit and a very ball gag. That's all they found. So.
Yeah, guys, you know me. I'm V, host of the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show, which is on hiatus for now. TLBTalk.com is the social network where you can find me. And, freedom of speech, it's very important. But don't come to my network acting like a racist a-hole, though. Please. The world's full of that stuff. It's a social network, not an anti-social network, okay? And yes, just like Naroki said, I am stepping in for Rearson. And I'll keep his place warm for when he's ready to come back. So, yeah, go ahead, Roger.
Well, I had to, something was going on. I was trying to hit that mic and it wouldn't unmute. So, yeah, my name's Roger Hansen. You can catch me on Skype and Discord. That's where I usually hang out. I'm always on there, but I also visit mines every once in a while. I stream on Rumble, Odyssey, YouTube, X, and I started doing it on what the heck is that, Twitch, here recently. Somebody suggested it to me, so it seemed weird to me, but I figured I'd give it a try.
I've considered Twitch, and it's like, yeah, no, it's just I'm not quite there yet on Twitch. Maybe at some point.
It seems weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not fully there with Twitch or Kick yet. I probably will eventually get there, but I'm not there right here, right now.
Yeah, I'm feeling you on that one, but I'm giving it a try. You know what I mean? So I'll give it a try and see how it works out. If you guys want to check me out, I have the Wonderful World of Weirdness on YouTube, as well as Strange Stories. And I also do Live with Roger Hansen right now, which is on my main channel. I did a really cool stream today, and it was called Into the Abyss. If you guys want to check that out, it talks about astrology and ancient history, as well as divination. So if you guys want to check that out, it's pretty cool. I had a girl by the name of Sonia that was on there with me, with another guy by the name of Mark, and we were just having a conversation about it. So it's pretty good if you guys want. I'm talking to you through YouTube, by the way.
Well, you know what? I need to talk to both of you after the show, because Yes, I might be the project director of TLBTalk.com, but I'm also a director at our parent company, TLB Media Project. And, it's a news site. So whatever shows you guys got, just give me your articles, go with them, and I'll make sure they're front paged.
Yeah, I keep meaning to get a hold of Reverend Jim as well, and I keep forgetting to do that. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, you can support me. I keep forget. There's something else that I keep forgetting to do. I keep forgetting to leave Patreon and restarting a Subscribe Star. So I am currently at Patreon as Naroki5. I do have a Subscribe Star, but it has never been initialized despite multiple attempts for me to get a hold of the people over at Subscribe Star to get that account started. They haven't done it. I am at, in order of number of subs, BitChute, MGTOW TV, Odyssey, and I will get into Odyssey in just a second, Rumble, Brighteon, and YouTube. That's in the order of number of subs I've got. Yeah, and speaking of Odyssey, I have 98 on one and 2 on the other, which gives me 100 subs. I have reached officially 100 subs on Odyssey, which puts it in the same category as BitChute and MGTOW TV. I now have 3 figures worth of followers on 3 channels. I will say this. I mean, that one individual, and V was around when this happened, when that still anonymous asshole took down my YouTube channel with 869 subs. He then proceeded to take down the following one that I had. That it only had 9 subs before he took it down, which kind of tells you about the mentality of the person that I was dealing with. He also started trying to do the same sort of thing to this channel, and then I pointed out to him that it's like, you know what? I mean, YouTube makes up 3 to 4% of my total subs. That does. Like, I've got 23 subs. I think it's 22 or 23 subs on YouTube. Like, YouTube is not important to me. It's, like, at the rate I'm going right now, if you took down my YouTube account again, like, I would probably gain all of those subs back in a week, maybe 2, at the rate I'm going. But one of the big great things about this new setup is like, yeah, okay, and this has happened a couple times, and it's not necessarily a good thing when I'm in camp. Like, I'm up till like 1:30 in the morning posting up content to like 6 different social media video sites, and I don't want to go to bed until everything's done. But here's the thing, right? Even if I keep posting up at YouTube long enough, YouTube is going to eventually get to 100 subs again. I get to go see me reach 100 subs 6 times. I get to see myself reach 200 subs 6 times. I get to see myself hit 500 subs 6 times. So, and whoever this hater is, there's not a whole hell of a lot he can do about it now, right? I mean, I've had an individual occasionally come in and mass downvote a bunch of my videos on some of these social media sites, but they can't pull the same tricks on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Brighteon, etc., the way they can on YouTube. And I think that's only a good thing, right? And also, and I've said this before on this channel, but it's true. Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, MGTOW TV, Brighteon, if you're posting up content on a regular basis and it's interesting, like, your channel will grow. Unlike YouTube, where they're artificially tinkering with the platform, and it is not fair and biased at all, which, by the way, is why 394, one of the topics is that Google and YouTube are And this will probably happen. It will definitely going to happen on Trump's watch if it happens at all.
So wait, are you saying that some people are waking up and drinking a tall glass of Haterade and coming at you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's at least one. There's at least one person. But yeah, 390. One of the topics of 394 is that there's finally actually some serious talk in DC about breaking up Google and YouTube for a damn good reason. But anyway, we will be doing that 394, which is another continuation of this week because it was just that kind of a week on this show. Now, tonight's topics are topic number one, former CEO, former YouTube CEO, Susan Wojcicki dies of cancer. Topic number two, Elon Musk has Donald Trump on interview on Twitter. The left loses their shit, and a EU leader actually, a YouTube leader, a EU leader actually issued a threat towards Elon Musk if he has Donald Trump on his platform again. And I wish I was making that up, but that's exactly what happened. Topic number three, judge is attempting to sentence Donald Trump before the election. That one is scheduled to happen on the 18th. I will get to that one when I get to it. It's a rather interesting topic. Topic number four, Henry Cavill leaving Warhammer 40K production. Yeah, this is actually getting kind of serious. I mean, they were talking about that particular issue, about start having a Warhammer 40K production, like, I think over a year now, and nothing's really happened. But anyway, it is what it is. Topic number five, Rachel Zegler speaks up again about Snow White trailer and sticks her foot in her mouth again. More to be discussed. And topic number six, I'm almost tempted to let V go first on topic number six, suspicious circumstances surrounding Matthew Perry's death, people charged. I'm almost tempted to let V go first on that one, since that was a topic he wanted to bring in, and I decided to bring it in. I do have some stuff to say on it, but this one is V's baby, so maybe I'll just let him go first. Okay, topic number one. Susan Wojcicki dies of cancer. Now, yeah, I think it was only less than a year ago that her son died of a drug overdose. Now, at the time, and people are like saying the two are connected. What the hell? Roger just left. Oh, maybe he just got booted, or maybe connection dropped or something. It is not unusual at all for parents of children who die of drug overdoses, of accidents, who get murdered, who disappear without a trace and are never found again. Like, it is not even if they're adults, it is not unusual for the parents of those people to be severely adversely affected. There's a well-established precedent, for instance, of married couples getting into a really nasty divorce after their daughter or their kid gets killed in a violent situation. That is not unusual. It is not unusual for parents to go down the drain psychologically when one of their kids dies of a drug overdose. Or and here's a really weird one. It's not unusual at all for dads to really be adversely affected if they get a woman pregnant and there's a baby on the way and the woman decides to have an abortion. That one seems to really psychologically hit men hard. So when having Susan Wojcicki die of cancer. Oh, Anna Nicole Smith again. No, that one. Although that one was drug overdose, and that was 2 drug overdoses. But there's another classic example of one where the parent died shortly after the kid. Although again, that one reeks of conspiracy theory and money. But I will get into that one. I won't really get into that one. One of the things that I have seen with parents whose kids die, especially since I've been in 12-step programs and in recovery now. Well, I'm be taking my 40 years clean here next August. More than a year, almost a year to go at this point. But I'll be taking my 40 years clean at late July, early August. What happens with a lot of parents of kids that die this way is that the parents of the child will take a serious look at their life and what they've done and what they have been doing. And a lot of that falls into the coulda, woulda, shoulda, mighta, and it usually involves their kid. But in a lot of cases, too, it will also extend out to how they have been conducting themselves in life in general. And given that this is Susan Wojcicki, and that she is the CEO of YouTube, there's probably a lot of stuff that Susan Wojcicki knows that she did that was wrong, and that she was the one who basically came up with the ambiguous terms of service. She's the one that hasn't, and the new CEO of YouTube isn't doing it either. Hasn't tried to fix the copyright strike system on YouTube at all. She's also the one that has participated in the cancel culture, specifically the cancel culture that the Democrats and the DEI and the BlackRock people have been enforcing for the last few years. They have knowingly messed with the algorithm so that certain content just never gets played. Therefore, the growth that occurs on YouTube is not organic. It's artificial. That was also her. The crappy way they rolled out YouTube ads and the YouTube subscription service, that was also Wojcicki's idea. So there's probably a few more in there that I can't remember, right? Susan Wojcicki has engaged in rampant, immoral, and just plain bad activity for YouTube. And she has set the stage with YouTube where it is exceedingly possible that, and keep in mind, YouTube has continued to do stuff like this. For instance, YouTube just recently it has been really going hard to try to force people to watch ads like as in they've been deliberately going after other search engines and trying to, like, for instance, if you want to watch YouTube on another search engine, like they're really trying hard. They've really pulled some stuff to try to force you to watch the ads. And, you know, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that Susan Wojcicki was responsible for. And there's a lot of people online who are quite happy that she's dead. Now, me personally, right, like I never really developed a huge YouTube channel. I mean, I had 869 followers at one point, but given how I'm going currently on the trajectory of what I am with these current 6 platforms all going at the same time, I'm probably going to exceed the growth that I had on YouTube before the end of the year, based upon the number of subs that I'm currently getting a day right now. So it's not going to really matter what YouTube does. What's really significant about this, though, is that, you know, and again, right, let's talk about political bias. Same thing, right? Putting mainstream news content up at the top of the feed to force you to watch that unless you get de-mainstream YouTube, right? Like that was her as well. So yeah, if there's a hell, she's probably burning in it, and she deservedly so. The way she died was unfortunate, but at the same time, right, you know, some of the things that she did with her son are probably the reasons why he ended up being such a hardcore drug addict, right? I mean, my experience with recovery and drug use is that ultimately the person who dies from the drug overdose is ultimately responsible for their own actions. Been around recovery enough to know that there's a lot of external factors, though, that tie into it that make it a whole lot more appealing to want to be an addict. And I mean, again, right, the death of a kid because of drug addiction is really a difficult shot for parents to take. This is the first time I've actually heard of a parent dying shortly after a kid dies of a drug overdose, but I have seen breakups. I've seen fathers end up going back out themselves and then ending up in jail and that sort of thing. I have seen that before, but I haven't seen a person develop cancer and die because of her kid. The closest thing I can think of to where I have heard of a couple of instances where somebody has lost something that they were really dedicated to, and they developed cancer and died less than a year after they were removed from it. Joe Paterno, the coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions, when Jerry Sandusky destroyed that program and basically forced Paterno to have to leave. He couldn't coach football anymore. Like, he developed cancer and died less than 6 months after he lost that job. So yeah, it does happen. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V, because I actually have to go. I have a hangnail and I have to clip it out because it's distracting as hell. So V, take over.
Okay. Roger, do you want to go first?
No, I'm fine. You go ahead.
Well, I took over for Rearson. I'm supposed to book in these things. But I'll go first on this one. Okay. Well, I mean, well, see, I have some questions for Naoki, so that's why I want you to go next. But I will say I mean, I don't know. Do you know if she had grandkids?
Now, from my personal knowledge, I don't know anything about like grandkids or anything. I know about the son. I knew that. But other than that, I didn't know if she had grandkids or anything. Sorry, I wasn't much help there.
Well,
I don't know either. I mean, she is old enough to be a grandparent, so maybe her son did, but I didn't see anything to that effect.
well, I was gonna say, because she took, I mean, call it poetic justice, because she left this censorship platform, this cancer on society on us. You know, she dies of cancer, her son's dead. That's her legacy. Is this cancer of a freaking censorship platform, a woke platform. And by the way, I had a discussion, a short discussion with somebody, but I think it was yesterday or the day before. My YouTube was acting a little bit buggy, so I signed out. I cleared the cache, signed out, refreshed the app, and instead of signing in, I just let it be default. And all the woke, it was. Let me just put it this way: it was like Gay Pride Month. It's like I thought Gay Pride Month was over. Every video was either about trans acceptance, gay men coming out to their fathers, like I actually put a link to a video. I called it Woke Comedy. It was like this show. It had all gay people on it, and they were just talking about stuff, you know, whatever the woke people talk about. They're actually, this particular episode, they were talking about it's like the one thing I watched. They were talking about forget sperm, forget having billions of sperm, just make one big sperm, because when you shoot it out, you can kill it. I was like, wow. I've never heard something so atrocious in my life. And this is on the front page of YouTube. Can you imagine your 5-year-old, I don't care, your 10-year-old hopping on YouTube, watching a video with a bunch of homosexuals talking about shooting one giant sperm through their penis so that they can kill it? It was not age restricted. It was not an age restricted video. Again, I was signed out. So YouTube is way worse than I could have imagined. If you don't have your own procured account and suggestions, you go in, pardon the pun, you go in raw, no protection. You're going to see that. I was flabbergasted. Or as Naroki would like to say, I was gobsmacked. With a giant sperm. They kept talking about the consistency of it, like it would be wet and slimy, and I'm like, this is not cool. Like, I know if I have kids, they're not going to be on YouTube. I mean, unless I can actually tailor and procure their channels themselves for educational purposes. Other than that, they will not be on YouTube. For those who are just hopping on just for anything, you know, back in the day, you used to jump on YouTube without an account, without anything. You'd see videos for music playlists, the most popular music that's out. You know, Mr. Beast or you know, these silly giving money to people videos and then these prop destroying videos. You know, the run-of-the-mill kind of stuff. Oh, not anymore. You sign on without an account, you got some hardcore trans and gender bending materials on the front page. So this is the legacy of this this former CEO. And Google, YouTube, the CIA, they all work together. One's got their head up the other's butthole, and you hardly understand where one begins and one ends. Just like with the NSA and the AT&T, how they released everybody's information. Hundreds of millions of people. So, her dying of cancer, I just think is poetic. Her son dying, I just think is poetic. Because of what she's left us as her real legacy. I'm not happy that people die. I'm not happy about her fate. But
neither am I. I have to agree with you, though, right? I don't like how she died either. But it's like it's hard to feel sorry for it at the same time.
Right. And that's all I got.
I agree. I don't feel sorry for her either. And when I said the other day that I don't like to speak ill will of the dead, I'm not saying that I won't say the negative things that I think she's done. I'm just saying I won't like point blank, call her bad names and shit like that, because I know a lot of people right now are doing that, and I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? I don't agree with just saying stuff that's out of place when it comes to that, you know what I mean? But I do agree with you guys on all the stuff that you said when it comes to her and the things that she's done. She was not a good woman whatsoever. She wasn't a good person, period. I mean, I'm not even going to freaking say woman. She just wasn't a good person. She hurt a lot of people. I think the first time I actually heard of this woman was back, I don't know if you guys remembered it or not, but when that woman went into freaking YouTube's main office and started.
Oh, it shot it up. Yeah. Because the way her channel was being treated. Keep in mind, she was making lousy content, but still, right? I know what you were talking about.
Oh, she was hot.
But
are you talking about the Middle Eastern looking girl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was hot. Oh yeah.
She was mid. That's just me though. Continue, Roger.
Let me point something out though. Within the first hour or two after that was said, they tried to make it out like freaking she did that over an ex-boyfriend who had worked there, and she got upset and went in there and started shooting the place up because she was looking for him. That's what they actually said over the freaking news while it was going on, okay? It was maybe about 6 hours later that their story changed, and they finally came clean and said that she was a disgruntled person who wasn't getting views like she wanted on YouTube, and she had flipped out, and she had mental illness. She suffered from mental illnesses, you know what I mean? But this is the kind of woman that you're dealing with. That was the first time I heard about her, and they point blank lied on the freaking news about that stuff. They were trying to tell everybody, no, this was a girlfriend, you know what I mean, that was upset because of her boyfriend, and that right there just shows you what kind of character she had. Her and YouTube. She's also the one that's been responsible for all of this censorship. Real bad. Like she's never she keeps saying, or she kept saying on her posts and everything on YouTube, freaking how much she cares about the community and everything. She cares about the community if they're a bunch of woke individuals who freaking are gay,
or corporations that are paying the money for commercials. Yeah,
and like with this stuff that's going on today too, okay, that is because of her, you know what I mean? Like she's the one who started all this stuff, and you were talking about the ad thing where they're trying to force it on you. They I was using ad blockers for the longest time, and at one point they tried to make it to where you couldn't watch YouTube without ad blockers. and they got in trouble with the EU over that shit. And just recently, they had to drop it, and that was because freaking they couldn't get away with it in the European Union. And it seems funny to me how, like, with all of the stuff about freaking vaccines and everything, how they have this they think they have this right to frickin' step on people's frickin' constitutional rights here in the United States, okay? And I know you're from Canada, Naroki, but see, here in the United States, like, our frickin' constitution is written in stone, basically. It can't be changed, okay? But because YouTube is multinational and global, freaking they turn around and they think they have the right to freaking impose the World Health Organization's regulations over people who are in the United States.
Well, I mean, if I can just jump in here for a second, that I've heard this argument from the left before. They're not a government institution, and the Bill of Rights and the that sort of thing that only applies to government institutions. And it's like, no,
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. These are my personal rights, okay? The rights that I have are God-given, and no man on the face of this planet can take them away from me. That's what my Constitution says to me, okay? I'm free according to my own consent, okay? And that means if I know that I'm doing wrong and I get arrested and they take away my rights, it's because freaking I was doing wrong. As long as I'm not doing wrong, I'm free. I have nobody that can tell me what I can and cannot do as long as I'm doing the right thing. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean that doesn't apply to corporations and what you do on their stuff.
Right.
Well, actually, corporations are people, and people have to respect other people, the rights of other people. So, yeah, actually, it does apply to corporations. Corporation personhood.
Well, it's just like me coming onto your platform, your show. If I want to say all Canadians are stupid, I can say that. But you can kick me off, though. You have the right to kick me off.
There's a lot of them that are stupid. Look at who our prime minister is, for crying out loud. Nothing. Yeah.
But you know, everybody they wonder why Americans are so disgruntled about freaking a lot of this stuff, and they don't understand, like, freaking our laws are supposed to be focused around our personal rights and the individual. That's the way our government was set up, and that's the way the Constitution was set up. And that's different than all of these other freaking constitutions, because first of all, ours can't be changed. And so far, from everything that I've heard, all of these other countries can change their constitutions at a whim. All right. England, they've got like this fairy tale freaking constitution that was never written down and codified. And we just finished that series, and I asked Mark, I'm like, so you're trying to tell me that your freaking constitution does not freaking carry the weight of law on its side, because it has to be codified. And
yeah.
And he's like, no, it doesn't. I mean,
I haven't been covering Britain. I'm almost tempted, because we only have 5 topics for 394. I'm almost tempted to add in what's going on in Britain for 394, but we can talk about it at the end of the show. Continue, Roger.
But my whole point is like, YouTube is taking upon itself the responsibility of enforcing World Health Organization regulations on the United States, okay? And the last thing people in the United States want are a bunch of freaking UN freaking regulations being imposed on us when we even though the UN's capital is in New York City, which a lot of us don't even like that idea. We don't like the idea of the UN coming in and taking over our government and telling us how we're supposed to live and how we're not supposed to live. You know, and I think it's pretty alarming that the European Union is pretty much following along or falling into suit with the UN, and they're doing their crazy stuff, you know. And the whole thing about the EU is just crazy with me.
Oh yeah, well, we will be discussing the EU with topic number 2. So
Okay.
just
But
giving you a heads up on
yeah, I
that.
know. I'm not. I know what the headlines are on or the topics are. So I'm going to stop there so that you can talk because I just wanted to end it at the EU because it just sounds cool when you do it like that.
Thank you very much. I will throw in one more thing before we move on to topic number 2. The British government, and they did direct Justin Trudeau to arrest and detain just because they could, to arrest and detain Tommy Robinson when he came to Alberta to speak here recently. Of course, it didn't hold up because there was no reason, but they did it just because they could. And the British government has been threatening to deport or try to get individuals in North America who are posting, because they tried this with Tommy Robinson before, and they were able to shut down discussion about Tommy Robinson online inside Britain. But what they couldn't do was they couldn't enforce that law outside of Britain. So this time the government is trying to figure out a way to, maybe if you start talking about what the British government is doing, and I have some theories about what's going on in Britain right now. But the British government is threatening to extradite individuals living in North America or outside of Britain that say stuff about what the British government is doing inside the country. And that country is just like in absolute chaos right now, which is kind of what I was expecting. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic here. So the next topic, Donald Trump made his return to Twitter. He had a sit-down conversation with Elon Musk. I did not watch any of it, because, like I say, it's not that I have any issues with Elon Musk or Donald Trump, but I'm not really hardcore fans of either of them either. I am glad that Donald Trump decided to return to Twitter, and I have been contemplating maybe having, if I could find, if they actually record the show on Twitter. I'm almost tempted to have the show on Twitter once, just to see how it would work. Although I may have to subscribe to do it. But yeah, there was a nice long conversation on Twitter with Donald Trump. The left immediately started spurging out. On Twitter, on Twitter specifically, people were making comments trying to absolutely minimize the impact that Donald Trump's return to Twitter meant. They lied about it. They tried to minimize it. They tried to do everything. And the bottom line is that, having Trump return to Twitter is significant, especially after what they tried to do, what they did to him in 2020, in 2021, after the AstroTurf J6 stuff, which they are still trying to pass off as a legit attempt to overthrow the government, which it wasn't. Because we interviewed a couple of guys that were there. That is not what was happening on January the 6th. The ultimate, though, and this is why I was talking about the EU, a member of the European Parliament actually issued a letter where he threatened Elon Musk and Donald Trump about allowing, specifically to Elon Musk, about allowing Donald Trump on to his platform. Now, this was the really, as well as the left doing a thing. What ended up happening, and I think Elon Musk is probably, in terms of patience with the wokesters and the left and BlackRock and DEI and globalism, all sorts of. I think he's starting to reach a point where he's starting to get really pissed off about it. Like his response to this member of the European Parliament was to literally post up a meme, and it's the meme from when Tom Cruise was playing this character in Tropic Thunder, where Tom Cruise is like swearing into the phone and saying, "Literally, fuck your face," and that's the response that Elon Musk had towards this member of the European Parliament. Like literally, go, yeah, expletive. That's literally what he did. He put up a meme on his platform, and Elon Musk is usually pretty diplomatic, but I mean, I'm noticing as this goes along, like it is starting to get to him, right? It is like just the absolute nonstop lies, the nonstop misrepresentations, the nonstop attacks that are absolutely baseless on him, and the minimizations and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I have noticed that over the last couple of years that his patience for that sort of thing is really starting to wear thin. Right? So when he put that expletive meme up in response to that member of parliament, which is something, in quote unquote polite civilized society you're not supposed to do, I was looking at that and going, whoa. Like, Mr. Musk is starting to get a little bit ticked. And it's not that I can't blame him for doing that at all. Then, of course, the Krasensteins came in. And it's not like it was back between 2016 and 2020. The algorithm isn't going to pump the Krasensteins posts up to the top of the feed anymore. And that's the whole thing about what's happened on Twitter, is that while Elon isn't the quote-unquote messiah that a lot of people thought he was, like, the Twitter now is a lot better than what it used to be. Because in the past, when somebody posted up something that was critical of the gay agenda or was praising Donald Trump, or if Donald Trump posted up anything, or if any political figure in the Republican Party, the Conservative Party, posted something up, the top of the feed was always these insane wokesters or these gay people and whatever, and it created the impression that the numbers were a lot greater than what they actually were. Now that Elon Musk has quote-unquote democratized the platform a little bit, these people don't have the same pull because their responses are not being pushed up to the top of the feed anymore. And that's part of the reason why the Alphabet Mafia has been losing traction, because their rhetoric, just now that it's been exposed as the paper dragon that it is, it's slowly starting to lose its effect. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Oh, no. Angel's not here. Roger can go next.
All right. I guess I can do this. This is actually a good topic, because when I said expletive, what I heard was this European Union guy ended up freaking making a stark warning to Elon Musk and executive chairman, who's the executive chairman of X, you know what I mean? And when he did, what happened is he received an expletive field response. That's how they put it. They said the expletive. So basically, they tried to warn Elon Musk, and he freaking just flat out gave him a response like, you can kiss my ass and fuck you. You know what I mean? Basically, that's what it was all about. And I give him kudos for that, because these people think that they can just strong arm the world, and all they are freaking, it's not even people who elect are elected, or people who, well, I guess they would be elected, but they're freaking all bought and paid for by corporations. You know, I mean, this is a union. Everybody keeps missing that whole point. You know what I mean? Like, you have the federal government here in the United States. That's a federation. Okay, the European Union is a union. It's a group of freaking corporations that are working together for the working man. You know what I mean? So that's what they're doing. They're these corporate freaking people who are pushing agendas that rotate around freaking socialist corporations. You know what I mean? And it's pretty scary when you look at that shit. Like, with me, I think a lot of this stuff that everybody talks about when they refer to woke is coming out of the EU, because that's what they're doing. And like, when they don't pass a law in the EU, it doesn't get, the referendum doesn't get passed. They can just recycle it back in until it is passed. So they can keep pushing the same referendums at the freaking EU until they finally get what they want. You know what I mean? And they do it all the time. They got shitloads of referendums going through there that they have to vote on and everything. And most of the time, the people who are there that are voting don't even have time to read them and find out what they're about. So that's the kind of stuff they're trying to push, you know. And I think Elon Musk did exactly what he should have done. I don't think of him as like a hero like a lot of people I know do. Like, you hear people talk so much great stuff about Elon Musk, and I mentioned it on your show before, I think, where, you know, I mean, if he didn't have all that money, nobody would freaking listen to him, you know what I mean? He's just a person like everybody else. And I'm glad that he at least could act like a person and respond like a human being. He didn't get up there like a lot of these apologists and say, "Oh, I'm sorry," just so that he can save his reputation. And that's the one thing that stood out to me. And with Trump, I mean, he needs to get off this kick about immigration. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot more important shit going on in this world than freaking worrying about freaking illegals crossing the border. I'm sorry, but I get sick of hearing that shit too. You know what I mean? Because I'm not freaking a Republican. I'm an independent voter, and I don't support the Democrats. But there's a lot of bullshit that the freaking Republicans say too. You know. But let's stop talking about illegals coming across the border, and let's talk about our economy that's falling apart in front of us, and nobody seems to give a shit about it. The value of the dollar has freaking gone down because we've handed out a bunch of freebies during the COVID epidemic, but nobody seems to think that that's important. We've got to talk about immigration, you know, and sneaking across the border and shit like that. It's just that first debate was so horrible that I thought that I'd stop watching it halfway through, and I went back to watch it, and I realized, no, dude, I watched the entire thing. It was just so fucking horrible. I didn't pay attention to half of it. You know what I mean? Because nobody's talking about the serious issues. It's either about transgender bathrooms or it's about freaking illegals crossing the border. You know what I mean? It's not about anything important. It's just bullshit politics. And that's what really gets on my nerves about these guys. It's like full-grown freaking teenagers on a fucking magazine for like fashion or something, or a fashion magazine. Yeah, I mean, you know, a bunch of freaking prima donnas and shit. And then I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, well, I would disagree with you on a couple of your points there. Hell, man, we got inflation and a crappy economy because the country was shut down for 2 years. And the immigration problem is also crashing the economy. But I will say that the UN and the EU and Americans freak out when they hear UN. Oh, UN's forcing us to do this. UN's for who runs the UN? It's supposed to be some, world global governance, but the United States government runs the UN. So it's like the difference between, a cop and a fed. Well, who's oppressing you? Well, probably both. But I think, see, the thing is about Elon, he became political. Okay, instead of just being a businessman, he became political. I'm learning my lesson, and I've learned my lesson in the past. I've gotten verbal on my social network, tlbtalk.com, and boy, have I paid the price for it. There are just okay, I'm not going to say my users are stupid, but there's stupid people everywhere you go. Whether it's Walmart, whether it's Twitter, whether it's, it's wherever, you're going to find stupid people. There's more stupid people on the planet than there are smart people. So, taking a political stance, you're always going to be hated by somebody. I was watching a news clip earlier. I think it was because Ted Cruz had went to some baseball game or whatever. Half the people he's interacting with are loving him, shaking his hand, and then you have the other half, people around him, tell him he sucks, he needs to leave. Trump said your wife is ugly. Why'd you endorse Trump? The only thing Ted Cruz can do is just wave to them and smile. Which I think is very classy. He stayed being a politician. He didn't get pulled out of his element. But you're always going to have people who are just going to freaking hate you. And at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? Because for me, I'm not going to be so political anymore. My profile, as a matter of fact, I haven't even signed into my profile in forever. I'm going to wait till the network gets freaking huge. There's enough people on there. I'm going to post my new documentaries. I'm going to blow my wad all at once. Okay? I'm going to have, instead of a bunch of little sperms, I'm going to have one gigantic sperm come out. As I guess the gays like, whatever. I don't know. I still can't figure that video out. Anyways, that is like exactly what I want to do. And not be mired in everybody's crap. I'm not going to be accessible after a certain point in time. I mean, right now, if I'm going to have to get back on the network and to be able to show people this and that as I'm going to be hiring some people. But there's just no way I'm going to do a daily post just to try to build some sort of cult of personality. No, I don't need that. I don't have an ego. I don't. I'm going to put my documentaries out. Like, this is the big drop. And after that, I'm moving on to something else. So I think that's just a big mistake on Elon Musk's side of things. Again, you have people who love him or who thought he was going to be a messiah. You got people who hate him, and of course, the people who are indifferent. I've heard, and the bigger that you get, the more people want to just claw into you anyways. I've seen a couple of Elon Musk documentaries, and they are just not flattering. Saying he's not a genius, that He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, just like Trump. Neither one of them are good businessmen. They just have money and do things and just build their own cult of personalities, which might be the case. I'm not going to debate that, but there's just no way in the hell I'm going to be somebody's punching bag for the remainder of my time doing my altruistic work. Those two things don't go together. If you're being altruistic, you want to help the world, then you need not necessarily praise, but you need, society recognizing it. And if they're not backing you, shut the hell up. So, again, half of society is sick. They're going to want to tear you apart any way that they can. So, there's not much about me. Anyways, I don't have any secrets. I don't have a real criminal record. I've got traffic tickets. I might or may have something about a domestic violence, but the police already know about that and told my ex that if she ever calls the police again, that she would be going to jail because I recorded her secretly falsifying the phone calls that she would make. So, if that's on my record, I don't know, but I'm innocent of it. So, I don't have very much dirt on me. If people are gonna try to make a documentary about me after I drop my stuff to try to tear me apart, well, good luck to them, because you're not really gonna find too much. Nothing I've not already said. I'm grassroots. Everything's built from the ground up. And that's the way it's going to be. It's the way it's going to stay. I'm not going to be somebody's punching bag. But anyways, gone on too long on this one. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, so that is topic number 2 done. Yeah. Wow. Again, that's what I was talking about, though. I mean, like, the British government has, and by the way, Biden and Trudeau would have, again, right, when Tommy Robinson got arrested in Calgary, that was done at the behest of the British government, and it was done, I think, not just as a message to Tommy Robinson, but as a message to people in Canada that if they tried to speak out about what's going on in Britain right now, that they could be extradited. And, I mean, yeah, like, you have to take a stand against something like that. I mean, no, the British government, yeah, your authority stops at your borders. And if you don't like people talking about you outside of the country, yeah, we'll just fucking try it, dude.
They're taking a page from China, basically. I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're trying to do. Okay, now we're going to get into the next part about Donald Trump, which is that he is coming up with a sentencing. For his one conviction so far, he is coming up with a sentencing here on September the 18th. Now, it has been pretty much been directed. It's like, no, you're not going to send a guy running for president to jail. You want to think that even as stupid as the globalists are, like they just failed in an attempt to assassinate him, and now they're going to try and throw him. They're going to try and throw him in jail. Like doing that. If you do I mean, a couple people, not just a couple of people. I mean, this is what I'm thinking about this. It's like, I mean, pray they're that stupid. Literally pray that they're that stupid. Like, I'm not Team Trump, and by the way, as I'm going along here, specifically on Facebook, I've noticed this a lot. like a lot more people are getting, like, I mean, like literally anything I post up on any group criticizing anything, suddenly it's like I'm being accused. Like, I mean, like people are coming at me saying, Trump's going to lose in 2024. And it's like, the post doesn't mention, like, I've had to tell this to people 3 times in the past 2 days, right? This isn't a political group. Fuck off with the Trump post. The post doesn't mention Trump. And, like, you deleted somebody, even though he was clearly critical of Trump, you deleted him anyway just because he picked Trump over Biden. Like, get the fuck over yourself. So you're encountering a lot of this, especially from the political left. And, on paper, we should be talking about people who are smart enough to put 2 and 2 together, that know about how propaganda models work, that know that every time they try to put Trump in prison or do something to Trump, his popularity goes up. Now, currently, Harris has restored enough support for the Democrats that actually the Democrats now are very slightly in the lead. Keep in mind, I mean, very slightly is, if you follow 2016 and 2020, means that Trump is absolutely going to just sweep in. As it currently stands right now, Harris has 270 electoral votes and Donald Trump has 268. Now, the other place I saw, Trump was ahead slightly, but I mean, yeah, as it goes along, Harris is going to become less and less likable. But yeah, any bump that Harris gets will be completely negated if this judge and the people around this judge are so full of themselves that they try to sentence Trump to prison. Like, it's over. Like, at that point, you may as well hand Donald Trump the presidency at that point. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, and we're still 30 days away from it happening, and a lot can happen in 30 days. I'm pretty sure if this judge does try to sentence Trump to prison, that the Supreme Court is going to have a lot to say on that. And again, you want to think that these people are not so delusional that they would actually attempt to do something like this. But yeah, I haven't been seeing a whole lot of common sense out of the globalists and out of the Democrat Party for a while now. And the people inside the Democrat Party that did exhibit some form of common sense have all been run out, or they had to sell out, like Bernie Sanders. So, yeah, this is... And also, if the judge sentences Trump to prison and Trump wins the election, that judge's career is effectively done. Like, he will never advance beyond his station. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger. Roger.
Yeah, when it comes to this whole thing with the judge attempting to sentence Trump, I haven't caught up on all that yet to jail. But like the thing that's tricky about the United States, and I've actually checked into this because I've been involved in doing research to do a lot of conspiracy and stuff, and like the birther movement that was going on back that Donald Trump was actually a part of with Obama and his birth certificate. They got into a lot of topics about this, and they started talking about, well, who can run for president? You know what I mean? And that's the thing that I think these Democrats don't really catch on to, because like I actually did do research on this, and there's a difference between who can run for president and who can be president. Anybody can be or run for president. Okay. Now, you don't even have to be an American citizen. You just go down there if you got the money and you freaking want to sign up to be a presidential nominee. You can do it. You can be from freaking Israel. You could be from freaking Europe. You can be from Mexico. But the thing of it is if you win, then you can't become president, because that means that you go from running for president to becoming president. So that's where you would no longer be eligible to move forward. You couldn't become president because you weren't an American citizen. Now, for me, what I would want to know is, especially with all these new laws that are put in place, what about a person that's a convicted felon? You know what I mean? Because I know here in the United States, when you're convicted of a crime and you go to prison, you lose a lot of your freaking rights even after you get out of prison. You know what I mean? And I'm still touchy about that one too, because of like the way they've messed around with the Constitution and our rights and everything. But you have to ask that question in this situation. Like, he's already been convicted, so what's going to happen once he takes office? You know what I mean? If he actually serves time in prison. Now, according to what he's saying, if he has to, he's going to sit in prison. He'll sit behind in a jail cell, and he'll run for president while he's in jail. So I give him kudos on that, because that's the one reason why I'm voting for him. I'm not a big Trump fan, but I'm going to tell you right now, I know when a man's being freaking persecuted, and to be honest, you'd have to be an idiot if you don't see it. You know what I mean? You would literally have to be a freaking idiot not to see it. So that's the reason why I'm voting for Donald Trump. It's not because I like the man, and I hate saying it. It sounds really shallow, which it is. You know what I mean? But that's the only reason why I'm voting for him, is because freaking people need to say they're sick and tired of it. They're sick and tired of this kind of mentality that you see in the politics, that you see on YouTube, like we were just talking about, like you see on the news and the media, of where people are bullied by, having the happy little smiley face and being, politically correct and woke. Before it was called woke, it was called political correctness. And then before that, they were talking about safe spaces and shit like that. The name only changes, you know what I'm saying? There is nothing different. It's the same bullshit, but it's been wrapped in a different wrapper with a different name now. So people are sick of it, though, is what I'm trying to say. I'm sick of it. And the only thing that I can do, to be honest, is freaking go to the freaking polling booth and make a vote. And that's why Donald Trump gets my vote. I don't give a damn if he slept with a freaking woman. As a matter of fact, that right there is an issue that freaking I have a problem with. Why are they bringing charges up on him? Because he freaking paid a woman to shut her mouth. You know what I mean? It's like, it's none of the freaking government's business freaking if he does it or not. You know what I mean? JFK slept with Marilyn Monroe. You know what I mean? Come on, dude. Are you serious? But all of a sudden, this is serious enough for him to go to prison over? I mean, come on, dude. Seriously, that's just a load of crap. And with that, I will stop. I'll hand it off.
You have said everything that I was going to say, Roger. And on top of it, the thing that really makes me want to vote for Trump is the fact that, and I've not been using my ad block, my ad guards, because I want to see the commercials. Some of the ads and some of the commercial stuff, has actually been kind of useful. It's gotten me a lot of information, seeing as how like anybody can buy an ad now with YouTube. It's like a couple $1,000s just to put up an ad on YouTube, and they have to play it like so many times per dollar. So I'm actually finding some good ads actually. But the ads that I hate are the ones where it's like, oh, well, Trump did this, Trump did this, Trump did that, vote Kamala, vote for Harris. And these commercials are nonstop. It's like, why is YouTube trying to tell me how to vote? I've already seen what they put on their site for people who don't have a procured algorithm. I know what the heart of YouTube wants, and I don't want it. That's more than enough reason for me to vote for Trump. I'm a contrarian. Easily. Again, Roger said most of the things I wanted to say, and I'll add this on top of it. If you're rich and powerful, and you're not getting your D Jade or B Jade or F'd, something's wrong with you. I actually trust you less. If you're not enjoying your wealth and power on a legal level, there's, like Mike Pence, that guy weirded me out. Like, he didn't want to be in the same room with another woman unless his wife was in the room. So I 100% agree with Roger. So, yeah. That's all I had to say on it.
Riding the storm. Now, he could have picked a better woman than Stormy Daniels. I checked her out, and she's not really all that. There's a lot better porn stars than her, you know what I mean? That's the only
way
thing
better.
Yeah.
But she's old, and he's old, and that's what he knows.
Yeah. I agree.
Anybody else? Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, you're falling asleep, aren't you?
Well, like I said at the start of the show, it wasn't particularly hot today, but it was extremely humid. And you know what humidity does? It just sucks the energy right out of you. Right? So yeah, I won't say I'm fading, but it's like I say, I won't have any problems getting to sleep once the show is done. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic here. This one is actually kind of fun, but at the same time, it's sort of like, well, okay, you kind of expected this was going to happen, given, well, as we all recall, Games Workshop tried to gaslight their fans into believing that there were always female Astartes. Now, the thing about, and this is the same sort of thing that happened with Star Wars, right? Games, and I know this because I am a Warhammer fan. In fact, I'm much more of a Warhammer fan than I am a Star Wars fan. And there's probably been a large number of people like me that have jumped over. And there's been a extreme dearth of Warhammer movies, probably in Warhammer like entertainment content other than lore videos on YouTube, because the Warhammer universe, and I think V will agree with me, the Warhammer universe doesn't exactly conveniently align with the current cultural norms. And I'm talking about that from both the left and the right. V would also openly acknowledge that to say that the chaos god Slaanesh would be problematic would be putting it lightly. Even the good guys in Warhammer 40K, I mean, which would be the Empire, even they, I mean, as bad as the Empire was in the original Star Wars movie, I mean, keep in mind, like Warhammer 40K is bad guys versus really bad guys, is what it basically boils down to. The Warhammer universe is amoral, human-centered, human supremacist. A lot of, and then this is to quote Rearson, who is no longer with us, at least for temporarily. There's a lot of content about Warhammer that is right over the top, and they specifically designed the lore to be that way. It makes, on paper, it makes for some very interesting content, but it's not something like you cannot make Warhammer PG-13 and have it work. Like, the setting does not do that. And trying to gaslight Warhammer fans, even on something as not, well, I will say the Adeptus Custodes are minute, but they're not the most significant thing in Warhammer 40K. Henry Cavill was going to be playing Inquisitor Cryptman, or Inquisitor Eisenhorn. And when I found out that he was going to be playing Inquisitor Eisenhorn, it was like, oh, that is such a good choice. And Amazon got the rights. And keep in mind, Amazon is the same company that took Lord of the Rings and turned it into an absolute woke mess. I believe they also, like, after they got past all the books that were written about Game of Thrones, like the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones were also a woke mess. Now, I have a theory about Hollywood right now, and I said it at the start of the year that Hollywood might be exhibiting what's amounted to is called a dead cat bounce, where you actually see better movies than the previous year because there's an attempt by some people in Hollywood to do it, and it's not going to really work, but we'll see. The response, Henry Cavill, though, is, and he was like this on The Witcher, Henry Cavill is very, and this happens with a lot of actors, are very dedicated to their characters, to his character in The Witcher. And he likes to stick to the lore. And he's very dedicated about protecting his character and, by extension, the story around this character. And the showrunner on The Witcher wouldn't go along with Henry Cavill, and eventually Henry Cavill had to leave. And of course, hold on a second. The ratings, just like they did for Game of Thrones, and like they never got started for the Lord of the Rings series, those ratings never really got back down, and The Witcher is probably in its last season. So Henry Cavill, and I'm pretty sure that Henry Cavill knows what Amazon, and again, as this went along, that's the reason why I started with the Adeptus Custodes. As it went along, it became, although it's never been made official, it became clear that what happened is that Amazon, and I think V, and you might want to tape your jaw up when you hear this, but maybe you won't be all that surprised. The executives at Amazon wanted female space marines.
they do that, I will die. I'm done. I'll be done with it.
Well, I
No,
mean,
no.
yeah,
This
Aren't
is
the Battle
Angels of Death,
Sisters?
right?
Aren't
What?
the Battle Sisters good enough?
The Battle Sisters are the Adeptus Sororitas.
Adeptus,
Fucking
yes.
kick-ass. Continue,
They
Russ.
are, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're fucking awesome.
They are the female Space Marines. No, they don't have any physical augmentations, but they have the power suits and the guns. Come
yeah,
on.
they're kick-ass. Sorry, Roger, you had something to say.
Yeah. Now, are you talking about Angels of Death?
Well, that's one of the words for them. I think that's one of the factions inside the Adeptus Custodes, but I'm not as familiar with the Adeptus Sororitas, but I'm not as familiar with the Adeptus Sororitas as I am with the Space Marines. Now, there's a very viable reason why.
The Blood Angels are Space Marines. I know that.
Oh yeah, the Blood Angels are a very popular faction.
Yeah.
To say the least, the Blood Angels are a very popular faction inside. They're imperialistic and they try to do the right thing, but they also have this absolute craving for human blood that will just overtake them every once in a while. And they will just go out on these killing sprees of the population that they were supposed to protect.
The good shit.
The Black Rage and the Red Rage. Yeah.
So I mean, the reason why, and this is the reason specifically why the Emperor only, it's not because he was being, not like he's being misogynistic like Warhammer keeps talking about. The reason why the Emperor only has male Space Marines is because if he knew that if he had both male and female Space Marines, that they would start breeding with each other and they would turn into a super race and they would eventually turn on the human race and annihilate them, which almost ended up happening anyway via the Horus Heresy. So, anyway, the people over at Games Workshop actually had some backbone and they said, no, we're not going to give you female Space Marines, but we'll do a compromise and we'll give you female Custodes. Will that be okay? And the word is that Amazon said all right, and the whole row with the Custodes pretty much killed Amazon putting any more pressure on Games Workshop to try and change anything about the Warhammer 40k universe. Because again, V knows this, you cannot PC Warhammer 40k and make it work. You just can't do it. Period. And it's like, it's not just, well, it's just a fictional story. Well, it's not, yeah, that's true. But I mean, the lore is well established.
They have 4 books, like Warhammer for Kids. Have you seen them?
No, I haven't seen them.
Check it out.
I don't think that shouldn't even be. I mean I love freaking RPG games, man, but there's just some shit that kids shouldn't have access to.
Oh, yeah. Warhammer 40k is an adult. I mean, every movie that comes out with Warhammer 40k has to be R-rated.
Yeah.
It's the type of movie where kids between the age of 13 and 18, and I mean, yeah, you could kind of like use it to promote them, but you want kids between the ages of 13 and 18 trying to convince adults to go with them so that they can watch the movie. That's the that's the thing that they should be trying to do if they're going to try to market it to teenagers. But yeah, specifically to kids. Well, I mean, yeah, all I got to say about marketing it to younger children is Slaanesh and the political right will absolutely lose their shit. They will, right? Because again, right? Warhammer, it's not a right-wing thing. It's not a left-wing thing. There's enough stuff in Warhammer that both sides of the political spectrum will get upset. And yeah, Henry Cavill knows this. And yeah, he was very interested in, I think, Inquisitor Eisenhorn, from what I have seen of his stuff because you basically, if you want to see YouTube lore, there is tons of Warhammer 40K lore on YouTube. Luton 9 is my personal favorite in that regard, by the way.
West Hammer for me.
West Hammer?
Yeah.
Yeah, West Hammer's pretty good too. He's in my top 3. He's not number 1 though. But West Hammer likes to do the gothic horror stuff.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, West Hammer likes to do the gothic horror stuff a lot, which is interesting. And he's a good natural storyteller, whereas Luton 9 is more about the dramatic mechanics of it. And yeah, Luton 9 is able to like go really big picture and make it interesting. Any Warhammer and Inquisitor Eisenhorn is not a PG-13 character. No characters in Warhammer are PG-13. And Henry Cavill is aware of what's going on, and it's been dragging on and on and on and on and on. And it's like there's a rumor going around that Henry Cavill is aware of what's happening, and they're aware that the executives at Amazon keep trying to interfere in the production of the Warhammer TV series, of the Warhammer movie, and he's getting a little bit sick of it, and he might have to pull out. So I really couldn't blame him. Warhammer is just one of those settings where it has to be R-rated, and it has to be for adults only, which means you have to show any TV series that is done for Warhammer. It's like one of those shows that you can't air until after 10 o'clock. And yeah, kids will be interested because there's a lot of adults that are interested in it, and they got to see their parents interested in it. And like, yeah, I have room in my life for one relatively expensive hobby. Well, this isn't really a hobby, but this is the other thing. But I don't have room in my apartment to get the paint kits and the dice and the miniatures and take the time out of my life to be spending a day and a half painting a group of miniatures. But I mean, some of the miniatures that I've seen that have been painted up have been absolutely awesome, and I can see why people are into that. Right? There's people who like literally make a living painting Warhammer miniatures. It's an art form. And the game pieces for Warhammer make for the games, like the actual tabletop game is apparently quite interesting. I just can't afford it. Well, I can. It's not necessarily a thing about money. It's a question about time with me. But, Henry Cavill, oddly, and here's the really weird part about it, and this is probably part of the reason why Henry Cavill's not suddenly lukewarm on the Warhammer series, is that Henry Cavill's favorite faction, and I think, and this is where I'll end off and I'll turn it over to V, Henry Cavill's favorite faction in Warhammer 40K is the Custodes, the Adeptus Custodes. Enough said. Over to you, V.
Oh, Roger, you don't have anything to say on it? Well, okay, I'll go then.
Okay. I'm sorry. Maybe, Roger, do you have anything to say? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's just I think it'd be cool to hear from V about it, because he's a really big Warhammer's fan, so I'd like to get his pace on it. I know a little bit about it, but I'm more into D&D, the real RPG games and stuff.
Okay, V, go ahead.
Oh, I was into everything, man. I saved up my lunch money. I think starting in, it was either 6th or 7th grade. I think by the time, no, it was about 6th grade. I think by the time I got to 8th grade, I had like a $700 like multiple army set. I had Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, Dark Eldar, and Orcs. So, yeah. Big fan? Yeah, I had my head in the codexes all the damn time. Yeah, absolutely. Just lore. This is before the internet. This is before I had access to some sort of internet device. Yeah, I was buried in it, and I could say, I've said it once before. They should not have been trying to change the material. If you're attracted to an IP, you want to go and work to produce that IP, leave that IP as is. Don't you step into somebody's house, yeah, you might have a whole bunch of money, but you don't make the rules in that house. So they need to have respect for the IP. You like the IP or you don't. Quit trying to change everything. We Star Wars got ruined, right? So, I mean, it's completely doable. Okay, I mean, it's not so terrible. I mean, it would be the equivalent to trying to make a horror movie woke or PC. The black guy dies first in every horror movie. Right?
Speaking of that, why haven't you died yet, V?
But you get my point, though, right? Nobody's trying to change that. So, I mean, why do... This is essentially a horror game. It's grimdark. So to try to PC it up, I can even understand. I can even understand the idea of making a child's version, a kid's version. They're 4 books. They're 4 children's Warhammer children's books. Okay? I'm aware of them. I haven't read them, but I'm aware of them. Now, I can even understand that, but just to say, why aren't these people female? How come they don't have female members? Well, okay, so what about the Inquisition? There were no female priests.
Well, how come there's no female Adeptus Sororitas? Why are there no males in Adeptus Sororitas?
Why aren't there any males in the convents? Maybe I want to be a nun. So, I mean, you get the point, right? I mean, this is actually based off of other cultures have been incorporated into the universe, but it's mainly based off of Roman, like the Roman Empire. Yes, you've got the Egyptians, emperor's children.
The world eaters are actually based off the Mayans, but continue.
Everybody's based off of something. To tell you the truth, it's kind of woke already. Everybody is included, but everybody has their roles. Everybody does their part that they specialize in. It's like being a piece to a puzzle. You have your own unique shape, and you fit in. You get in where you fit in. Having all this equality and this woke agenda. There are so many IPs. There's so many ways to push that agenda, but for everything to be standardized underneath that agenda is wrong. It's morally reprehensible. So, I mean, Henry Cavill leaving, yeah, I would have left too. And he left The Witcher, so people should know he's serious. And without Cavill's name behind this, if he doesn't like it, it's gonna bomb. And to tell you the truth, I don't really want. I really don't want a live action that badly, because the CGI stuff that comes out is more than awesome. In my opinion, it's just more than awesome. And if you take that route, you can have so many studios working on so many projects. They have Warhammer TV. I have downloaded a few of those series, and they're phenomenal. They're 100% lore correct. The mechanics are correct. The feeling, the grim, dark settings that is put off. If I see a woman in a Custodes armor, I'm going to be very, very upset. Because you're defying logic, and I know I've said this before. Okay, well, let's put this into perspective. I recently watched an MMA fight. It was some random, fat, couch potato white guy, I mean fat, in his 40s, going up against two females, two of them, that were in their 20s, and they were black belts. The white guy was untrained. He was a couch potato. Guess who won the fight?
The couch potato?
The couch potato beat the crap out of him. To have the whole concept of the Custodes is to have the best human fighters possibly conceivable. And you're not going to get that of a female. Male children are chosen, or were chosen by the Emperor. They were genetically enhanced over time. They were indoctrinated over a long period of time so they can have perfect muscles and an undefeatable mind. With battle skill that cannot be touched by anybody. So, I mean, are you going to, if you're gonna forge a weapon, you're gonna want the strongest elements that you can forge with, right?
Yeah.
Adding, saying that you want to put a woman in this position, your weapon you're forging is made of what, aluminum, tin, versus having steel or titanium. It's not a hard concept to understand. It really isn't. I understand girl power. I understand all that stuff. I understand, I will go as far as say, women, they can be my equal spiritually. They can be my equal mentally. They can be my equal in human rights. They can be my equal in the workplace. But physically speaking, we're not equal. I can't have a baby. I don't care how many woke people out there get upset by me saying that. I can't physically have a baby. A woman can. We're not physically. Hell, I've been roofied and have beaten the hell out of 6 bouncers at a bar. You're gonna what? You're gonna have, and these are all male bouncers, by the way, bigger than me, each and every one of them. And I beat the crap out of all of them simultaneously. I was roofied. I was out of my mind. So that's like, and the Custodes. Oh, I'm getting so worked up. The Custodes are male, and they're bodyguards. They're bodyguards for the throne. Now imagine hiring bouncers. They're just this little tiny 120-pound woman. Imagine hiring her as a bouncer. Hire 20 of them. It wouldn't stop me from taking them all out. If I absolutely had to, if I were in that situation again, if those 6 bouncers were converted into, let's just double them up. If those 6 bouncers were converted into 12 females bouncers coming at me, it would have been a slaughter fest. So the woke agenda, I don't really care. Just everything has its right time and its right place. To push all the stuff on everything, it's just ridiculous. It can't. It shouldn't be done. But yeah. Anyways, go ahead. I think I've ran it long enough. What do you think, Roger?
Yeah, we went on long for that one. I was kind of expecting we might go on long for that one. Go ahead, Roger.
I think you did a good job, man. Now, one thing that I do have to say, and it's like, well, first of all, I'm sorry when I said that freaking I play real games like freaking Warhammer wasn't. I said it wrong, basically. You know what I mean? Like I was more into like D&D, White Wolf, and games that were like dice and stuff like that. And I'm not.
Oh, so was I. Shadowrun was my big one.
I love Shadowrun. I love Shadowrun.
You know, I mean, I did like the whole idea behind Warhammers. I just didn't feel like going out and getting involved with the whole figurines thing. But I did like it, the whole way that they had everything set up. So, the thing that got me about it was like whenever the everything came to a freaking a roar with this new TV series they had, like they started coming up with crazy shit about why things were going bad about it, and they started blaming freaking like the storefronts, saying that freaking the communities were turning against freaking company and making them look bad to the players and shit. And I'm like, and I see that trend going on with all of them. Like Wizards of the Coast does that too with Magic, and they do it with D&D. This new edition of D&D is just freaking horrible, and they still keep pushing this agenda like it's the greatest freaking edition that was ever brought out. And they've been doing and they've always been involved in it. That's the weird thing about these communities, and I love role-playing games, but I'm going to tell you why. It seems to be like where all this wokeness kind of spurred from. Like now all of a sudden it's just saturated with all of these woke people and these, we have to be considerate to our fellow man people, and it's like, where the hell did this come from, dude? I played D&D back in freaking the 90s and freaking 80s and shit, you know what I mean? Like, well, there was a reason why we hated orcs. You know what I mean? It had nothing to do with freaking the color of their skin, dude. It was because when you played freaking game, you hated orcs unless you were an orc. And then when you were an orc, you was a horrible, evil person. You had to take on those characteristics, and you had to become an orc and think like an orc. You had to be in character. And now today they just overlook those kind of things, like, oh, you don't have to be in character, don't worry about all that, you know what I mean? This is canon. This is canon. You just do it. And I hate that term, canon, you know what I mean? Freaking now they call it homebrew when a person sits around and freaking comes up with their own stories and their own campaigns that don't go according to the book. And I think whenever you guys talk about RPGs, I should start talking more about this kind of stuff, because this is the stuff that freaking bugs me when it comes to these new generation freaking RPG players. Like, I sat down and did freaking D&D, the 3.5 E with them, and it just blew their minds because they freaking didn't freaking understand the way that I played it compared to the way their buddies play it. You know what I mean? They're getting to the point now where on their stat sheets, they don't even want to know freaking like +5 or +2. They don't even want to put that stuff on there. You know what I mean? For their stats. And I told him, look, dude, when I freaking see your stats, I want to see freaking 8 plus 3. I don't want to see freaking just 8 or and then add the 3 to it. You know what I mean? Make it 11. You know what I mean? Because that's what they're doing now. They want to, instead of say 8 plus 3, they want to just go ahead and put 11 there. 8 plus 3 makes 11, you know, and they're doing crap like that because that's what they learn off of the internet. And then they turn around and they get to the point now where it's so politically correct with it that freaking if you go on the new website they have, D&D Beyond, if you say anything that they feel that's inappropriate or doesn't go according to their standards, then you get kicked off of it. And they want you to verify that you are who you are with a phone number. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, dude? Yeah, and these are the people who freaking are supposed to be the ones in charge of the books that we're actually playing these role-playing games with. And I just, I'll tell you right now, after 3.5 in D&D, I don't freaking care about the fourth edition sucked. It just point blank, it sucked. Okay, and the fifth edition, freaking, it is just crazy. It's horrible. Now I do like the freaking what is it? Forgotten Realms. I do like that. The new Forgotten Realms has got some good stuff in it. But when it comes to freaking the rest of it, I just don't like it. Now, with this whole environment that you're talking about with the wokeness, I that's where my whole comments is from. There's this weird thing that's been going on, and it's coming out of these card games like Magic the Gathering, and it's coming out of freaking the RPG games, and it's strange because freaking I don't remember that when I was younger, people being that way, and now all of a sudden it started there, and it's just spreading on to all this other stuff. Like we talk about Walt Disney World and freaking all this other stuff, that's involved in wokeism, and I started noticing it first with the role playing games. That was the scary part. So with that, I'm pretty much done. I liked what V said, but I wanted to add that.
Yeah, by the way, V, I found Ray Gun's performance at the Olympics. I'm posting it up in the feed. Try not to cringe because there's actual decent breakdancers that actually have their shows. Try not to cringe when you see it, because I mean you actually see. We're gonna be doing an actual addendum to the previous topic, on the previous show, because what Ray Gun did. Yeah, try not to cringe when you look at it, man. It's just
the only Ray Gun I like is Chris Ray Gun. He's hilarious.
Exactly. Okay, so next topic here. Oh my God, try not to cringe when you look at it, man. It's just like, yeah, we're gonna be doing a little bit of maybe about a 20-minute addendum. It's only the second time the whole time I've been doing the show that I've had to add an addendum to a topic, because I was like, yeah, you saw that when I took a look at that redacted article and some of the stuff that Ray Gun was saying, and it was like. And we remember, both of us were agreed that we don't want this to be about race. And then I didn't see anything that said that Ray Gun had made it about race. And then I looked over at the redacted article about it, and it was like, oh my God. Yeah. Need I say more? Anyway, let's get into the next topic. Oh, of course. Oh, we have covered this person multiple times. Now, you would figure after the debacle that Rachel Zegler did earlier about these, it's not really Snow White because Rachel Zegler is not white. So I call it Snow Brown and the 7 vertically challenged individuals, because that would be the actual, probably the PC name for it. Rachel Zegler almost completely killed the Snow White movie the first time around. They went back and they massively rescheduled it and reshot everything because of all of the leaks, and Rachel Zegler just could not keep her goddamn mouth shut. And of course, right, you get all of the white knights going, well, this actor said this and this actor said this, so why is it Rachel Zegler's? And because Rachel Zegler, because that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the fact that this other male actor over here said or did this exact same thing. We're fucking talking about Rachel Zegler, right? This is the same sort of thing that happens when we start talking about trans teachers or sneaking the trans agenda, or female teachers having sex with underage students in school. The first thing the leftists is, well, what about all those priests, and what about this? And that's fucking whataboutism, right? We're not what we're talking about. We're talking about this. That is not relevant. Yeah, it happened, but we're talking about this over here. So you talk about this or you fuck off. Anyway, the Snow White trailer came out. And I'm sure that both of you are massively surprised that the trailer, even though YouTube, among other things, and by the way, this also happened on Wojcicki's watch. Remember how they removed the thumbs down vote? That happened on Wojcicki's watch as well. Even though you can't see the votes, you can. And I think it was 90% plus of the votes on the trailer were thumbs down. Now, Disney apparently has still not learned its lesson. And what Disney did is they came out with a publicity statement on Twitter stating, oh, well, the movie's going to do well because it got 55 million views on YouTube. And of course, they don't mention the fact that the downvotes exceeded the upvotes by like 10 or 20 to 1, maybe even 100 to 1. I can't remember specifically what it was. Typical Disney stuff from a corporation that obviously still has not learned its lesson. And, of course, Rachel Zegler spoke up, and she repeated the line that came out of Disney. And that was like, okay, she's the actress. I talked about Henry Cavill and her character, right? So I get that. And then, literally, the next tweet she made, on the same tweet where she was talking about Snow Brown and 7 vertically challenged individuals, she goes and tweets, "Free Palestine." Now, hold on a second. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't, right? But this is Disney we're talking about. This is after Rachel Zegler almost killed Snow White last year. She goes and sticks her foot in her mouth again and posts up something not related to the film project and makes a political statement not connected to the movie on the same tweet. If she had simply gone and posted up "Free Palestine" on her Twitter account, independent of her comment of the YouTube viewing, it probably wouldn't have gotten the blowback that it did. But she didn't do that. She did the stupid thing again. And as much as we liked to poke fun at Brie Larson a few years ago, Brie Larson was, in general, although she is back in the news because, Ryan Reynolds decided that there wasn't going to be her and Tatiana Maslov, She-Hulk, coming in and humiliating Wolverine and Deadpool simply because they were both white males, and they decided that they weren't going to have that in the extras reel, and so she's a little bit pissed off about that. But I mean, she's been pissed off, but not making it public. Like, it's been leaked out, but she hasn't been making it public, right? In general, Brie Larson has been keeping her mouth shut. And by the way, Brie Larson has got a luscious rack. Rachel Zegler does not have a luscious rack. She's even stupider than Brie Larson. And she just cannot separate her politics from her filmmaking. And it just keeps coming back to sting her. And it's like, Deadpool versus Wolverine. It's very clear that both Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds knew that wokeism was not, because there was actually, when it was rumored that there was going to be a third Deadpool movie, it was supposed to be woke AF, and the production team, which included Reynolds, fought tooth and nail to make sure that it didn't turn out that way, and I'm glad they did. Rachel Zegler, on the other hand, and Hollywood does know about get woke, go broke. It's been shown that get woke, don't go broke is an actual thing. It's been shown that if an actor opens up his or her mouth too much, that they will kill the project. AKA, by the way, it wasn't just the actor, but Tatiana Maslov played a big part in the reason why She-Hulk isn't being renewed. It's also a big reason why Brie Larson shot her mouth off so much that people didn't go see the most recent Captain Marvel movie because they didn't like Brie Larson. And of course, the movie wasn't all that great either. It was woke as fuck. But it was it's your typical Marvel movie. It had its moments. It wasn't great. It had a couple funny moments, but it wasn't like it wasn't bad. It lost money, but it wasn't bad. But Brie Larson had turned off so many people that people just weren't going to go see the movie because of her. Same thing. And when we get to topic number 6, we'll get around to this. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And Rachel Zegler just keeps doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results, and it doesn't work, and she doesn't appear to be learning from her lessons, which is something that at least Brie Larson was smart enough to do. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Well, really, when it comes to Rachel Zegler, the only thing I can really say is I think the girl stuffs her freaking bras. Because there's difference in the size of her boobs when she's wearing her regular clothes or her night out clothes, where she's going out and hanging out, from her bikini shots, which she seems to have an obsession with on Reddit. So you're dealing with a girl who freaking thinks it's cool to take selfies of herself in her bikini and then stuff her bra when she goes into public, so that pretty much sums it up for me with her. I'm into women who have a little bit of cleavage, you know what I'm saying? I don't really care too much for women who have no boobs. I think it's getting a little too trendy in this world where girls are skinny, like skinny little boys. You know what I'm saying? That's what they look like even these models. So I'm not really all that interested in Rachel Ziegler. So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to V.
Yeah, my mind goes to many different places concerning this topic. Uh, I don't particularly care that Zegler is playing Snow White. I didn't care that other actress, the black actress, played the mermaid. And let's be clear, they want to talk about cultural appropriation. Mermaids' first appearance in any mythology was in African mythology, the worship of Dagon. Okay, right off the coast, African coast. It didn't show up in European mythology till much later on. So, a black mermaid is actually very accurate. But I don't see anything wrong with people getting work. I mean, okay, so let me throw out an example here. My father hated that I kept bringing white girls home from school. He told me, "You better not water down my jeans, boy." I would laugh, but he was dead serious. But my rebuttal would be, well, look where I am. You moved me into white suburbia. I go to, prestigious white schools, and I'm going through puberty. This is what I like. This is what I'm growing to like, because in my environment, it's what I see. I wasn't even into black girls until I started seeing more and more of them on TV. So equal representation of the races is not anti-white racism. It just isn't. Totally different things. It's just not. They're not the same. So I don't see anything wrong with. I mean, Rachel Zegler, whatever her name is, she looks white to me.
She ain't white. She's Hispanic. It's pretty obvious if you know what to look for.
She looks white to me. So for me, there's no difference. She's the whitest Hispanic I've ever seen. So, with that being said, I'm kind of upset a little bit, because I felt as though I should have been more attracted to my own race, but I had no examples. I got pulled out of the hood early in life. So I have no examples of the black females I should be attracted to. Didn't have any in school. There were none in my neighborhood. Most definitely didn't see too many of them on television. So, I mean, I guess I'm Lucius left foot right now. I should have warned you guys I was going to bring out Lucius left foot. But I whatever I mean, she's going about this in her own way and just sticking it to whoever doesn't like what she's doing. And I honestly don't blame her. Yeah, there's going to be some people that are going to hate her, but at least she's doing her own thing. At least she's not, I mean, she's got to work. She's got to eat. She's got to build her legacy. She's got to put money in her bank account. And of course, she's a woman. She's a willful woman. She's going to have an opinion. The only thing that validates those opinions is the attention that we give it. So, some people are better seen, not heard. I hate to take it there. I really do. It sounds ugly, but that just might be the case sometimes. If she's saying crazy stuff, I think she's just poking at society. She's making a jab. When she made that statement and then added, free Palestine on top of it, like she's fighting all oppression around the world. That's fine. That's whatever. I don't have a dog in the fight, but I do want people to understand the difference between anti-white racism and just people needing to be represented and need to eat, need to work.
Well, I didn't say anything about anti-white racism. This is, although, I mean, again, right, and we've covered this before with you, I don't think you'd be particularly happy if they'd made Ryan Reynolds play Malcolm X.
Well, it's not a historical thing. Your example isn't equated. But, however, fairy tales and historical event and people, I mean, if it were a play or something, I wouldn't care. But if it's, you can't get the message across in something like that. Having a white Malcolm X, it just doesn't get the message across. It defeats the whole purpose. So, but I'm pretty sure there are different examples that you'll come up with and throw at me later on. But anyways, that's all I got.
I do want to add something to kind of reassure you, though, B. You shouldn't feel guilty about the whole thing about not being attracted to black girls until you've seen them on TV, because the same thing happened to me, dude. I wasn't attracted to black girls at all until I started seeing them on TV. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So, and see, you see, the white girls at their most beautiful, because they're all done up Hollywood. And then you have the rich white girls in the neighborhood. They think they're superstars. And they're all done up. You got some poor black folks that can't afford makeup or a new dress and got nappy ass hair, looking like buckwheat.
Normal black girls.
You know what I mean?
Normal black girls don't go that way. You know what I'm saying? Like the ones I knew, freaking, they were pretty much, they'd whoop your ass if you said anything out of line to them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. My sister was that way.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what I'm saying? So don't feel bad about that, because I mean, even for me as a white guy, dude, I didn't even get attracted to black girls until I freaking started seeing them on TV, because that's when they get gussied up and looking good. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like
exactly.
Like a black girl going to church. You know what I'm saying? A black girl going to church is look good. You know,
they're beautiful.
So it's like it's a completely different atmosphere between white girls and black girls, in my opinion.
Oh, dude, there's a completely different vibe between black girls from Africa and black girls from North America.
Oh yeah. But anyways, yeah, I'm done.
All right, so that makes out for this particular topic. Okay, V, since you're the one who wanted this as a topic, I do have some stuff to say about the Matthew Perry thing. And but it involves my experience in recovery. So I want to just leave that until after you were done first, because I found this very, I found this to be a very interesting topic when I started diving into it. But I will leave my opinion on this because this was the topic that you wanted. So I will let you go first on this one.
Well, I think I have a little passion about the subject because of how it was covered in the news and how law enforcement was just so involved. And I couldn't help but think of the inequality. The inequality. This guy from Friends, known drug addict, he's relapsed and recovered so many times, right?
Okay, I got something to say on that, but I'll wait till you're done.
I don't listen. I don't have an issue of anybody doing drugs or anything like that, but you have to take responsibility for yourself. Nobody is shoving a crack pipe in your mouth. Nobody is shoving a needle in your arm. No, you're doing it yourself. And I thought it was appalling for the fact that this guy is famous, wealthy guy, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on vials of Special K that are worth, maybe a total of maybe a couple grand. Yeah, they kept ripping the guy off. $100 vial he would buy for like $11,000. But that aside, so the government went after the drug dealers and putting them up on on murder charges. The inequality of that is awful. I mean, if I went and bought, I don't know what can you OD on? You can, like, heroin, right? You can OD on heroin, right?
Oh, you can OD on just about any street drug.
Anything, really.
Well, so if I went and bought some heroin, shot it up, smoked it up, however you do it, and I overdose, the cops are not going to care about who sold it to me. It's an overdose. It's a suicide. Open shut case. It's closed. Nobody's going after my drug dealer and putting him up on murder charges. So I don't want to debate about whether it's right or wrong to put a drug dealer up for murder charges or wrongful death charges or manslaughter charges. I'm not going to debate whether that's right or wrong. What my thing is, the inequality of it. You go after every ODer's drug dealer or none of them. You can't pick your cases. Because that just says he's important and I'm not. That's un-American. And that's basically what I wanted to spew on this topic. So, you got some AA experience there, Rookie?
Oh, I got NA and AA. I got multiple. Yeah. Addiction is a very hard thing to break. Relapses part of addiction. I've met people that have been in the program since I first moved to Edmonton that are still in the program that have not been able to get more than 18 months in the whole time I've known them. Again, I've also met people, like there's one guy in Edmonton who's got 45 years clean. So, I mean, if you apply yourself, if you stay dedicated to being clean, you can do it. The issue here is that, I mean, and this is something that is explained to to addicts, and it's something I'm going to explain to people who have some, because I mean, I've heard all of the 12-step cult stuff before about AA and NA and so forth. You're free to leave those programs all you want. You're free to go over to Narconon or to try Irrational Recovery or any of those other ones. At least with me, you are. Just remember, though, regardless of the treatment method that you use, you still have to do the mental work and emotional work to deal with the issues that got you to your addiction in the first place. Now, yeah, there are certain drugs that will trigger an addiction faster than others. Like, I mean, yeah, you use crack, you're instantly addicted to it. Some stuff you have to start use it for a while before you become addicted to it. I know that Matt Perry at one point was really, really gung-ho about recovery, and then he just stopped. I didn't know that he had relapsed. Yes, they do go after dealers. They go after dealers a lot, actually. But, you know, in a lot of cases, the drug users are in one particular neighborhood, and what they except in Vancouver, of course, which is where it's right in your goddamn face when you're driving home from downtown. And I'm going to point out something really weird about Vancouver, because Vancouver hasn't had their downtown erode anywhere close to the same extent that Seattle and San Francisco and Portland and all the other cities on the West Coast. Living in downtown Vancouver is still basically a good thing. There's areas immediately outside the downtown Vancouver, like the downtown east side, where it's like you drive down Hastings Street and it's like a major thoroughfare, and there's like people shooting heroin into their arms as you're driving by. Because I went and saw it. And, even for a person in the program, I drove by and I'm like, wow. And it's like they've got stuff like that in LA and San Francisco quite a bit. They do go after the dealers. The issue is, and this appears to be the case with Matt Perry, is that he was addicted to a prescription substance. Now, I remember, and I don't know whether V was very active on Red Pill Nation Hangout when I talked about the lawsuit against Sackler involving OxyContin. The settlement was it was $6 or $7 billion ruling against Sackler. Sackler they were the individuals that were behind the OxyContin epidemic that was occurring throughout the 2000s and the 2010s. Yes, they went after Matt Perry's dealers, because Matt Perry was a celebrity. That doesn't surprise me, because it's happened before. The whole issue here with Matt Perry is that, and I'm not gonna make excuses, because yeah, he chose to do what he did. He chose to die of an overdose. There's a big difference, and I know this from being in recovery for a very long time. There's a big difference between stopping and staying stopped. And staying stopped requires a complete shift. That's why they call it the program. Requires a complete shift in you, both mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, to get to a place where, hold on a second, not using is the norm. and it requires a significant amount of work. And then it's like going to the gym. You have to maintain it, right? Like you can't just go, oh, well, I've been clean X number of years, X number of months. I'm better now. I'm all cured. That's not the way addiction works. In most of the people that I know that have relapsed after a very long time, for instance, like if I were to go back out now, like most people that I've met that have relapsed after like double-digit years clean generally didn't live all that long. You know, I don't want to find out how long it would take for me to hit bottom again if I went back out. I have no desire to find that out at all. So yeah, it is a very difficult thing to lick. I've met people that have, and I'm not making excuses for Matt Perry, because Matt Perry clearly did not, either could not or would not do the work required to change his thought process and his spiritual and mental and emotional state of mind to the point where we're not using is it, you know, it doesn't even cross your mind anymore, except under like really strenuous circumstances. Yeah, it's tragic. And again, right, we could get into the legal prescriptive versus the street drugs. And I mean, I know this because I have people that work in the recovery field. Some of the prescriptive drugs, you literally cannot stop them cold turkey. You actually have to go under medical supervision to stop some of the legal prescriptives. I mean, I've seen some people do withdrawals off of heroin and some of the street drugs, and it's nasty. But like, I mean, it won't. As long as you're in a generally a safe environment, it won't kill you. But there's some prescriptives that you have to like withdraw under medical supervision, or you will die.
And by the way, he had multiple sources. Some were prescriptions given by his daughters, and then some were from the streets.
Yep, double doctoring.
They are going after everybody. Now, I want to know, how many drug dealers do you know are in prison on murder charges, and they didn't actually pull the trigger or stab the person?
Well, I mean, again, I don't associate with dealers, so I couldn't tell you. But they're from people that I've met who've been in recovery, have been in jail. There's more than you might realize. This is not the black and white issue that you think it is. I'm not surprised that they went after Matthew Perry's dealers.
But what I'm saying is, yeah, of course they go after dealers, and they'll get them for drug charges. But for murder charges specifically,
yep,
that doesn't happen very much. Unless, I guess, some celebrity situation.
Unless it's a celebrity, yeah, that's kind of rare. But I mean, I could tell you that with drug courts, particularly if the dealer was knowingly dealing stuff that was bad, yeah, he does. They will get the book thrown at them, because I've been told. I don't go to drug court because I've never had an issue with drugs. But yeah, I mean, if you're a dealer and especially if you're dealing bad, but yeah, double, like what you're telling me about Matthew Perry doing the double doctoring and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that is par for the course with this particular issue.
I did forget that some of the drugs were bad. Like, well, drugs are bad, but they were not the original drug that he intended. They were cut, counterfeit, and totally bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like especially if you're selling a batch, you know that you're selling a batch that is cut bad. And you continue to sell it even though you know that people are dying. Because I mean, trust me, if there's a bad batch out on the street, you know, word gets around very quickly, right? And word usually gets around to the detoxes and whatever, and they take medical precautions to limit the damage. And among limiting of the damage, that also means letting the dealers know that the stuff is bad. But then again, sometimes you just get the next level up, which is the suppliers, and the suppliers know it's bad and they will release it anyway. because yeah, that's just the type of environment you're in that community. But yeah, I'm not overly surprised that they're going after the dealers and with Matt Perry, because they did this with Michael Jackson too, by the way. Like they went after the guys who were dealing Michael Jackson with all his drug issues as well. They went after the doctors that were supplying him there as well. Anyway, I could go on for a very long time about the subject of addiction and what I know about it and what I've seen and what I've witnessed. Again, right, it's kind of weird that these are bookend topics, but yeah, right? Deaths of addicts have, and this is where I will end off and then I will turn it over to Roger here. Deaths of addicts have an impact on the people around them, even if they don't think that, even if they've been completely ostracized from their family and they know that they're going to die, they're going to get that call. Like it still hurts. Like it still has an impact, right? And, you know, each death is a tragedy, but I mean, at the same time, right? I don't enable someone's using. I make it unpleasant to be using around me, which is why nobody ever does. And using, especially some forms of street drugs, will literally turn you into a psychopath. Because once you become addicted to it, the addiction is the only thing you're concerned about, and you will do, say, steal anything to support that habit, because the higher power stops being God, Allah, Buddha, whoever, right? And like the addiction and serving the addiction. By the way, that also includes alcohol. Getting that fix is your God.
Hey, are you dry too?
Yeah, I've been sober. I've been sober almost 40 years.
Holy crap. You've been
Dude,
sober longer than I've been alive.
I'm freaking celibate. You know what I'm saying? Me and Naroki are both sober, and freaking I'm celibate on top of it. You know, I didn't do that until I sobered up. So.
Well, I didn't decide to become celibate. It just, you know. Well, I mean, this is manosphere stuff for me, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of involvement with women. And what I knew what women were capable of, because I grew up around toxic women and I knew the types of damage they could do, right? I mean, it kind of almost turned me off to a great degree to what women were like. So yeah, I treat my interactions with women the same way I would handle a loaded gun. And yeah, if you want to call me paranoid for doing that, fine. That's a moniker I can live with, right? I've had to, like, there's been 4 separate times I've had to go to funerals of either of guys that killed themselves over or were killed over relationships that went south. You know, and yeah, drugs were all involved in all 4 of them because they were all programmed people. But yeah, you know what?
Well, women can be a drug too, man. I mean, that's my drug. Absolutely. Is women. Oh, I have a cousin who, hopefully God rest his soul, but after his 4th divorce, he killed himself and his last wife. He had enough.
Oh yeah, it's relationships will do that to you. Anyway, Roger, I will let you take this topic out, and then I guess we're done until Wednesday.
Yeah, when it comes to addiction, I've been in NA, CA, and AA as well. I've been away from drugs and alcohol since June 14th, 2001. So I've been sober for quite a long time too. And one thing that I want to also add to what Naroki said, and he did do a good job of saying it, is you'll hear a lot of people who've been in the program, and this is how you can tell when they're honest, okay? And these people are the ones who says they're recovering alcoholics and addicts. They never say they're recovered. You're recovered when you're 6 foot under, okay? And like Naroki said, this is a process, and you have to work. It's a process and it's a program, and you have to work the program if you want to understand what's really going on with you. Now, I've done quite a bit of 12-step work where you go out and you actually work with people who are active alcoholics and drunks. And I'm going to tell you what, that was more for me an eye opener about alcohol and drugs than actually suffering from drinking and doing drugs. I by the end of my drinking and my drug addiction, I wanted to die. Okay. And it felt that bad and I felt that horrible, but I did not understand exactly how bad it was until I actually had to work with another alcoholic or another drug addict, because I've seen full grown men that were bloated from drinking so much alcohol. They suffered from jaundice, had freaking yellow eyeballs, and their freaking skin was solid white. Okay, I've gone to hospitals and held a dude's hand who freaking was had alcohol poison, and he had nobody else that would be there to stand by him and make sure that he was okay. I used to hang out with this one girl, man, and we lived over in Evansville, Indiana, and all of us would get together with her, and we would go like to the riverfront and walk around because it had one of those docks on the thing, and we would just have so much great times, and she was so happy to be sober. One day she decided she didn't want to be sober, and this is what Naroki was talking about. She was an older woman, okay? And one day she decided she didn't want to be sober, so she gets into her medicine cabinet and she starts drinking, and next thing you know, she's dead 3 days later. Okay? So nobody can say that frickin' they're going to be sober tomorrow. Nobody can when they're drug addicts and alcoholics, okay? I live by the motto that I'm sober today, okay? Tomorrow hasn't come yet, and yesterday's gone, you know? So I live one day at a time. Just because I'm sober today, that doesn't have any guarantees about what tomorrow's going to bring. And that's what's important. Now, I also had harsh realities that I had to learn. And one thing I had to learn is Jimi Hendrix wasn't a freaking role model. He was a lesson. Okay, Vanessa Williams wasn't a freaking role model. She freaking was a lesson. Okay, and some people have to freaking die in order for other people to live. And these people were lessons. Jimi Hendrix was a lesson to other people that said, if you are going to live your life according to drugs and alcohol, and you are going to die from a drug overdose, then it doesn't matter about any of the music you made or any of the great things that you accomplished, because you died a drug addict and you died an alcoholic. So if you're into music and you're into freaking doing all this great stuff with art or whatever you're doing, none of that matters if you are a drug addict and you are an alcoholic and you are going to freaking kill yourself because of that. The same goes with Vanessa Williams. And I have to do that when it comes to Michael Jackson, when it comes to freaking dude from Friends, you know what I'm saying? All of these people are lessons. Okay, you can either learn from their lesson or you can follow in their footsteps. That's the only two options you have, okay? You can either do one of the two. I don't consider these people as role models. I consider them as lessons that I have to learn by. You know what all of those guys have in common? They're dead. And why are they dead? It's because they chose to continue doing the things that ended up killing them, drugs and alcohol. So I have to use that as an example for me to stay sober. Okay, I learn a lesson from those people. Okay, just like I learn a lesson from a person that's in the program and that wants to give me advice. And in order for me to do that, I have to remain teachable. Okay, I have to be honest with myself. I have to be open-minded, you know what I mean? And I have to be willing to listen to another person when they give me good advice. Because before I went into the program, I didn't really know what right and wrong was. I thought I did, but I didn't know what that was. I had no idea what doing the next right thing was. I had to be taught. And most people, they feel the same way. They know what's right and wrong, but in reality, they don't. Because once I gave up a lot of the things that I had to give up to stay sober, I started looking around, and people who weren't alcoholics and drug addicts were doing the same fucking crazy shit. You know what I mean? So I had to choose, or I had to learn how to live in a world that did the same crazy shit that I used to do, but can't do now. So everything switched. So now instead of me freaking being that victim, I'm actually freaking learning how to live among these people and doing it in a way that doesn't affect me to where I'm going to go out and get drunk or get high and eventually be dead. You know what I mean? And that's something that people don't read. That's actually living against the grain. You know what I mean? Going against the grain. All of this rebellious shit that everybody's trying to do in the world today, that's not rebellion. That's not shit. You know what? If you want to be a rebel, don't get drunk for the rest of your life, dude. Okay? Freaking don't get high for the rest of your life. Freaking do the next right thing. Okay? People don't do that shit. They don't like it. You know what I mean? That's going against the grain. That's being a rebel. You know, you don't have to freaking get caught up in this shit where freaking people think freaking DMT is a spiritual experience, okay? It's a freaking drug altering drug that you introduce into your body to create an effect. Okay, that's all I need to know. See, and it's simple that way, and it keeps me sober. All right, and with that, that's all I got to say.
Okay, well, that concludes.
Well, hold on. Can I add on top of that really quickly? You addict people, you guys are depressing.
Well, I love recovery, man. I
do
love
too.
being
I mean,
clean. I love the fact that there's levels of freedom with not having an addiction.
That's not depressing at all. It's not depressing at all. It's freedom.
I was a homeless vet. Okay, when I got out of the military, jobs were one thing. I could get a job. People saw my dog tags around my neck. I was offered jobs. But as far as getting a place to live, it just wasn't happening. So being a homeless vet, I had to go. In Austin, there's no homeless shelters per se. There's the downtown Arc building that might have a bed every now and again, but I literally found myself at this one. Somebody told me to go to this place on the other side of town. I went in. I was interviewing. I'm thinking I'm interviewing at a homeless shelter, and then this guy kept asking me about drugs and alcohol. Like, drugs. Why do you keep talking about drugs? And this guy's like, "Are you in the right place?" It's like, you have drug issues, right? And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, I'm blowing this. I'm not gonna get a bed." It's like, well, okay, yeah. Last night, I woke up on my friend's floor after drinking all night, which was true. Like, okay, well then, we got a bed for you. But not being an addict and staying at the sober living home, I was there for like 3 or 4 months. I'm going to tell you, just the everyday routine, listen to everybody's stories, the prayers, the workshops, the 12 steps. When I got out of that place, the first thing I did is went and got a bottle. It was so bad.
I mean, for you, see, that's boring and that's depressing and stuff. But see, that's actually stuff that saves people's lives. You know what I mean? And Okay, you might not be an alcoholic. You might be an alcoholic. I don't know. Nobody on this planet can tell you that. You're the only one who can say it, just like with me, okay? A doctor can't even give you a test and say, hey, look, I know what your problem is. You're an alcoholic. They can't do it, you know?
I just don't have time. I don't have. I come from a family of shamans. Okay, shamans and black barts. Um, it's, I don't know. I don't have time. I will have a bottle every now and again, like maybe like once uh, every 2 or 3 months. I'll get a small bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple beers.
I mean,
But other than that, I don't have time.
if you're not like suffering to the point where you're gonna die, dude, freaking.
Oh no, nothing like
you know
that.
what I'm saying?
Oh,
It's like,
dude, I had some absolutely phenomenal, beautiful experiences in my first year of recovery that are gonna stay. Those memories are gonna stay with me till the day I die. You know, like having your life not be controlled, not having to have finding and getting and using means to get more to keep the beast going, and to be free of that, and to potentially rebuild your life into something that you can be proud of, like, and the excitement around that, especially in your first year or two. I mean, I can remember having conversations with people in recovery. And yeah, that's what we did. We talked about our issues. We talked about our recovery. We talked about where we were going and what we were gonna make of ourselves now that we were clean, and being really fucking excited about that. It wasn't boring at all. Not for me, it wasn't.
Well, 40 years is pretty impressive. You've been sober longer than I've been alive.
well,
So,
see,
congratulations on that.
You gotta understand something. Naroki is old as shit, dude. Like
Okay.
he is.
Papa Naroki.
Grandpapa. Great grandpapa.
He's wise, even still beyond his years. All right, I'm done.
Love you, Naroki, by the way.
I was talking to this one chick at West End Mall one time, and again, right? This is a manosphere issue. There are MGTOW guys that, they don't go, I don't go anywhere with the intention of ever hooking up or meeting with women, but they somehow seem to fucking spot me in a crowd. And I've got a fucking dad bod, right? I'm not I was a good-looking guy. I was a good-looking guy when I was in my 20s and 30s and even into my 40s. But yeah, you know what? I can't sail by on looks anymore. I still get attention. I remember this one time I was talking to this one girl, and she was 21. And I picked up some dirt, and I said, "You see this? I'm actually older than that." And that actually made her laugh. But it's yeah. You want to know how I got the clean? I took my 39 year here just at the end of July. I got that time by staying clean one day at a time for 39 years. That's how I did it.
Oh, there you go. That's what I like too. Is they always ask you, how did you do it? And then that was always the response, one day at a time. I love that.
Yep. Anyway, we have to have a little bit of a quick conversation before we wrap it up tonight. Yeah, like I say, I don't get into my recovery experience. It does seep in. If you've been listening to me long enough, you know that I'm in a 12-step program and have been for decades. And this 12-step stuff does enter into my conversations at some point, but I don't usually get into it in this particular depth because it's not what this program is generally about. But this particular topic, yeah, it's kind of tragic that Matt Perry died the way he did. I'm sad that he didn't put together the consistent daily effort you have to put into to not only get clean but stay clean, because it's not the getting clean that you got to do, it's the staying clean. That's the work, right? Like, it's easy to stay clean when everything is going well and you have money in the bank and food in the fridge, and you got a car and you got a wife or a girlfriend and she's hot, and everything is going well and you got an active social life. It's easy to stay clean when you're doing that. It's when you're like, you've had 6 jobs in a row go south on you and you're barely making rent and you're going 2 and 3 days without eating, which, by the way, I have also gone through, and you're dealing with bed bugs and you're in your apartment, and, you're also simultaneously, while you're doing this, you're fucking tripping. You're not tripping out, but I mean, you got triggered over a fucking childhood issue, right? Like, stuff like that. And that's when the time you put in and the time you spent in that mental and spiritual gym, that's when that stuff becomes important, not when things are going well. Anyway, that's all I got to add about this. We got to have a quick conversation before we end the show tonight. But anyway, we'll be doing 394 on Wednesday. I'm going to add that Great Britain stuff to it just because I think what's going on in Great Britain is actually something that we need to be talking about. So I will add that in as topic number 6. But that is it for tonight, folks. Thank you for sticking around. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.